Let's explore conformity and Play-Doh. Why not? Those seem to go well together. And just a disclaimer, when I'm quoting biblical verses, which I will be talking about in this video, it is not historical. We're not talking about real people who lived. We're talking about a biblical, esoteric, mystical metaphor written by mystical authors who intended everything to be understood as a mental or psychological drama being unfolded within humanity, right? As we're experiencing and waking up to our own divinity. So the author Paul, we don't know if this person actually existed or who he or she was, or if this person also wrote the book of Hebrews. There's a load of question marks, okay? But this author particularly wrote two different but yet related concepts. And one is about, actually both of them are about conformity. One's more metaphorical. Don't worry, I'll break it down because you're like, wait a minute, I don't remember what a metaphor is. And since I was like middle age, I mean middle school. Anyhow, I will eventually learn English. But one verse is no longer conform, no longer be conformed. Those are very important words that aren't just accidentally strung together, and I'm going to break them down, okay? But then there's also another one in the book of Hebrews that really uses the metaphor of being a pilgrim. And a pilgrim is an outlier, an outsider, sometimes even perceived as a pariah, which means somebody who is kind of annoying to the social order of things, the natural social order of things, which means, well, we expected this to go this way. And so what is this all saying about us? What is this all saying about our beliefs and manifesting and all of that becoming, a way in which to teach us how to become better at manifesting what we want, right? But remember, this is not about desire. This is about being, okay? Yes, you can have desires, you can have wants. Those are great. And you can definitely start with wanting, but don't remain in wanting. You want to move from wanting to having, okay? But having is a form of being. I know, I get it. But having is a form of being. You don't go into the imagination to have, ever. You always go into being a being who has, right? You don't go in to have a house. You go in to be a house owner, right? Got it? Okay, so let's go back. And depending on the version of scripture that you have, it could be actually rendered differently. But it's basically no longer be conformed. Okay, no longer means there was a period where you were conforming. There's a period where you thought, for example, I've got to work 60 to 80 hours a week to make just a livable paycheck. Or I've got to people please as many people as possible to get to where I want to be. I've got to, fear authority. Whatever those things are, no longer do that, right? Give it up. That's really what it's saying. But then there's also, this is a very key word, no longer be conformed. Conformity is about your character. Conformity is about who you are as a manifester. Because you can manifest whatever you want, but if you have loaded and preloaded and limiting beliefs and fears and concerns and ways in which you define what it is that you can get in this world, then you're still conforming. Meaning, if you think, all right, I've got to work really hard to get money. Guess what? You're going to do that. That's what you're going to believe. That's what you're going to experience. And that's how you're going to define manifesting. That's how you're going to define your desires. You're going to define your desires through the art of hard work or hustle or whatever it is. And yet we have those people who do believe such things, right? Because we actually have hustle culture. We have people who do work and placate and justify, right? The idea of working that much time to get what they desire. Rather than saying, hey, money comes to me effortlessly. I don't even need to work to make money. And so on and so forth, right? And we don't get to judge other people's experience or how they're manifesting what they're manifesting, all right? We simply just get to celebrate with them. And that's very key, by the way. I don't see many people celebrating other people's manifestation. I see a lot of jealousy, even within the manifestation world, which means you're operating from a spirit of lack, which means a spirit of not having, okay? And I don't want that for you. You don't want that for you, right? So again, this nonconformity, where Paul says no longer be conformed, that's a being. That's a state of being. That's a character that you're playing. And now, who is that character? Who is that person? Those are the questions you need to get up and ask every single day, right? How am I being what it is that I want to have in my world? Whether it's more compassion, more confidence, a bigger house, all bills paid. How am I being that? How am I acting that way? How am I responding to, right? All of those things are extremely and incredibly important. And this is a lifelong gig, everybody, right? This isn't I'm doing this just to get this thing, and then I'm going to wait until I get the next thing. Because what that means is then you're in a consistent state of never being satisfied. And this whole manifestation thing is always being in a state of being satisfied, right? That's how it works. So Neville Goddard says you need to get out ahead of your manifestations. Okay, what that means is live as if now. That's really what it means. Live as if you are fully loved. Live as if you are fully famous. Live as if you are fully fill in the blank, whatever it is, right? But when the author, possibly Paul, says no longer be conformed, that word conformed is very poetic because it's more like our idea of silly putty or clay, right? Or anything that is moldable, okay? And the idea, though, is also being pressed from every side, okay? But it says no longer do this. Don't be pressed from every side. What that means is don't be easily influenced by how you see things unraveling in your world, or how things are easily defined in your world, or how things are defined in the wider world, right? Do not give in to processes. Do not let processes define what you desire. Don't say, oh, I have to go get this degree, and to do that, I've got to go to school for 12 years. No, you don't. Because if you do, you are now back into being conformed into the way of this world, right? And so I need you to be fully aware of that's what's being said here by the mystical authors, okay? Is that you, like you're going to want to give in, because if that wasn't the case, then that verse would just have said you're really good at not conforming, but it's saying no longer. So obviously what that does mean, what that does constitute is that we live in a world that will try to pressure us, that will try to give us ideas about what it means to fall in love, or what it means to, like, be of a certain age and that you should be married, or whatever the pressures are, that you're going to have these pressures, okay? And that verse is saying, do not let that define your potential. That's really, really ultimately the heartbeat of this, right? Be the outlier. Be the one who forms their own rules. Whether it means that you're trying to get married, you're trying to fall in love, you're trying to build, an NGO to help kids in Africa get cleaner water, whatever it is, don't be conformed by the way and the rules and the status of how this particular three-dimensional world works. When you do that, you find your freedom. Then you become what the Hebrew author wrote as being a pilgrim in this world, meaning in this world. That means in here, you're always getting what you want. But out here, you look like you're just traveling. You look like you're meandering to some people. You look like from the outside, you're simply not doing and conforming to the right or correct or moral ways of doing things, right? And so I want to free you into that you are already that manifester, that you already have that potential. So I hope this was enlightening and encouraging to some of those that might be struggling with, well, should I do it this way or should I do it that way? Because, this is supposed to be the law of freedom, according to Neville. And that's what we really, really want to get good at, is freeing ourselves, because you're the only one who can.